Senator Urquhart.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. I rise to speak on today's matter of public importance submitted by the opposition on the record of the Gillard Labor Government. I'm particularly proud of this record and particularly proud of Labor's plan for Australia's future. We've just heard a lengthy diatribe from those opposite seeking to talk down this record, as though working to secure the jobs of hard-working Australian families through the greatest economic challenge since the Great Depression is a bad thing. This government has stayed focused on securing the jobs of working Australians throughout our term. And what better marker of ongoing success than the creation of more than 800,000 jobs during the worst of economic times around the globe. When nations around the world were putting their hands in the air, this Labor government got on with the job of governing, of assisting the community to build vital roads and classrooms and assisting businesses to create jobs. Everyone in this place knows the fantastic job done through the global financial crisis by the Labor government, where Labor's fast, targeted action to stimulate the economy has seen our economy now 10% larger than before the GFC, while many advanced economies are still smaller than they were before the global crisis. I'd like to list 5 economic statistics that show that, as things stand, Australia's economy is tracking along nicely. 1. Annual GDP growth is 3.1%, around the long-term target of 3%. 2. The annual inflation rate is 2.2%, nicely within the Reserve Bank's target range. 3. The unemployment rate is 5.4%, while never low enough, well below the average of the Howard government. 4. The annual wage price index is at 3.7%, just 1.5% higher than the inflation rate, giving working Australians more opportunities each year. And 5, the standard variable mortgage rate is 6.45%, which is making home ownership affordable for many Australians. These 5 statistics highlight that the Australian economy is tracking well. And just for the fun of it, I'd like to add a sixth that definitely would not be possible without the interventionist approach the Labor government took in 2008 and 2009 to stimulate the Australian economy. The 6th is the starting with the Hawke-Keating Labor government, Australia has achieved 21 years of consecutive economic growth. 21 years with roughly half under a Labor government and half under a Liberal government. Sustained reforms beginning with the Hawke and Keating governments and continued through to the Rudd and Gillard governments. Reforms and quick action like we took in 2008 and 2009 to stimulate the economy that continue to set Australia up as a great place to work, to do business and to raise a family. I'd like to turn my focus to those great achievements of the Rudd and Gillard Labor governments for the electorate of Braddon in northwest Tasmania, where I live. Achievements across health, education, roads, rails and ports, across tourism and across industry development and innovation. Northwest Tasmania always does better with a Labor government. Federal Labor has delivered 2 GP super clinics for northwest Tasmania, one in Burnie and one in Devonport. It is interesting to read in our local paper, The Advocate, earlier this week, when Senator Colbeck was caught knee-deep in the mud. Senator Colbeck was caught trying to sling the mud at the proprietors of the Devonport Super Clinic for not accepting new patients, when a quick call to the clinic would have alleviated his concern. In fact, there are 3 new doctors at the clinic now taking new patients. Together with the Burnie Clinic, the strain is being taken off the emergency departments at the Northwest Regional Hospital and the Mersey Community Hospital. People who don't need the high level of care at an emergency department are being seen within the community. A Labor reform that is saving the community money and keeping people out of the stress of going to hospital.
Order. Senator Urquhart, resume your seat. Senator Brandis, on a point of order.
Acting Deputy President, the point of order is directed to relevance. I know that there's a lot of latitude given in these MPA debates and the topic is broad, but the topic in fact is about the incompetence and dysfunction of the Gillard government. And I'm a little at a loss to see how an attack on Senator Richard Colbeck in relation to the Mersey Hospital is relevant at all to the topic of the MPA.
Thank you, Senator Brandis. Senator Urquhart, I would draw your attention to the topic of the MPI.
Well, I was, in my opinion, getting to the topic, and I will keep going.
Getting to the topic is not sufficient. You need to be
I was
the
on the topic, and with respect, I will continue. While keeping people out of hospital is the goal, Labor has significantly refurbished the only Commonwealth-owned hospital, the Mersey Community Hospital in Latrobe. Labor committed in 2007 to following through with the Commonwealth takeover of the hospital, and since then has ensured that it has been a valuable community asset. With over $200 million of investment, a significant boost on previous agreements for the hospital, there have been major refurbishments and the purchase of new equipment. Where the Coalition have seen and used this hospital as a political plaything, Labor has got on with the job of delivering a funding boost and ensuring that the people of North West Tasmania get access to the quality health care they deserve. Importantly, the hospital is being run by the Tasmanian Government as part of the North West Tasmanian health system. With 2 quality hospitals within 40 minutes drive, the Tasmanian hospital system is able to provide specialist care and services in either one facility or the other. This maximises the services available to North West Tasmanians. And Labor hasn't stopped with just a refurbishment to suit existing conditions and existing staff. With ever an eye to the future, we have invested over $1 million in a Centre of Excellence in clinical education at the Mersey Hospital. This Centre of Excellence is ensuring that existing staff at the hospital are continuing their professional development to allow for training doctors, nurses and allied health professionals to access quality training in their discipline. Along the coast in Burnie, Labor is on track to delivering a regional cancer clinic to provide treatment and support to North West and West Coast residents suffering from cancer. This $16.5 million investment is the result of tremendous lobbying by the member for Braddon, Mr Sid Sidebottom, and the community at large, which unfortunately has the second highest incidence of cancer in the country. When it opens, most North West Tasmanians will not have to travel that distance away from their support networks, while those in remote parts of the region will have less distance to travel. Turning to education, no one can drive across North West Tasmania without noticing the 65 schools that were enhanced through the Building the Education Revolution. From over $6 million invested in new classrooms at the amalgamated Remain Park Primary School in Upper Burnie to the new $2 million science centres at Ulverston High and Yolla District High School that are giving students hands-on experience at botany, biology and applied science. These are real investments in the learning environment of students and the facilities for teachers. They're not overpriced school halls that the opposition so often shout in this place. It's interesting that when we're in here or when we catch them on a news interview, those opposite are more than happy to talk down these investments in school infrastructure. Investments that they know provided a much-needed boost to the schools both in Braddon and right across the country. My advice to those opposite in this election year is simple. Don't talk about them, just pretend they don't exist, because we're really proud of them on this side of the chamber, and we know millions of Australian children and their parents are proud of them too. Take the multi-purpose halls and libraries that were built across the North West Coast, including at Sprayton Primary School. These halls are now the pride of a community like Sprayton that can be used after hours by other groups and on weekends to run events. A new library provides a warm, welcoming environment for students to become excited by reading, setting them up for a lifetime of learning. Across the North West, Labor's nation-building program has boosted the economic infrastructure that gets the fantastic goods our region produces to market and the social infrastructure of sporting halls and facilities and nature reserves. The new swimming pool at Devonport will enable year-round swimming lessons and recreation for the people of the North West in an undercover pool. The shared pathways built from Ulverston to Turners Beach and from Burnie through to Somerset are now a vital piece of community infrastructure connecting outer suburbs with little or no public transport to the larger centres. To see the hundreds of children and their families using these paths after school and on the weekend is evidence that they're worth every cent. Families that no doubt receive the school kids bonus, a twice-yearly payment designed specifically to help with cost of living pressures associated with raising a family and getting kids back to school. Most of these same families that use this pathway and benefit from the school kids bonus are benefiting now from our low-income superannuation co-contribution and cuts to taxes delivered by Labor. These measures that this Labor government has implemented to make it easier for families to make ends meet, and those opposite would take them all away. Take away the tax cuts, take away the boost to retirement savings, and take away the cash assistance to help with the cost of raising their kids. Today, the issue has been raised about dysfunction, and we're here to talk about dysfunction. Well, it is well and truly on display with the priorities of those opposite.